Hello and welcome to our Insights podcast. I have the pleasure to have with me Jorgelina Bross. She is a project management expert, and we are going to have the advantage to hear her perspective after working so many, over 15 countries, right, Jorgelina? So I think she can share so much with us here. So welcome. Very nice to have you here.
Thank you, Leon. I am pleased to be here as well.
Very nice. So let me start by asking you, with all your international experience and everything that you saw in different countries, cultures, and situations, you became a very strong advocate on servant leadership, right? So can you talk a little bit more about how servant leadership fits in today's project environment? Because projects are changing. We are going to talk about AI, but not right now. But projects are changing, right? And how is servant leadership helping project managers in different cultures? Is that the same in every place you went? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, actually, it's a very important part of project management or projects or people, right? And we know that actually servant leadership goes back many, many decades. But of course, it became more famous, if you want, obviously with Agile and Scrum and the servant leader. And then exactly this question or what you ask, I ask myself, I think it's different. Can we copy paste and use the same style everywhere? Do cultures take this in the same way? Will it work, actually? And when we talk about servant leadership, it's actually giving power back to the people, if you want, right? The team members, okay? They can be empowered, they can make decisions, but we are supposed to help them going through that process, not just alone, but as well when they work as groups. And just to comment, I am Argentinian. I am living in Germany, one of the countries I live, but I lived as well in Scandinavia. So in Denmark, in Finland, I lived in Italy as well, Switzerland, England. And we see that all these cultures are somehow different. And they behave differently, they interact differently, and as well, they communicate differently. We Latinos, we move a lot, we share a lot. So you can, even if I don't talk, which is very hard for me not to do, not to talk, but then you could tell how am I feeling, okay, or you could always tell without listening to me. Now there are cultures that do not talk that much, and it's very good like that, and probably they don't show that much, and that might be misinterpreted that either they don't need help, they don't want help, and they don't care. Mm-hmm. And I see this is where servant leadership becomes more critical, more important, for the servant leader to understand that we're all humans, and we realized actually during the pandemic that we are social creatures. So obviously we need the contact and we need support as well, right? And I believe that really servant leadership can make a difference when you realize how to help people that probably don't express it so openly. So that would be the first part, one person at a time. But if you have a team from the same country, that's easy. But if they're all mixed up, then you have to adjust the style as well.
We see that shift, right, from command and control, which was very common in the past. So the project manager has all the answers. The project manager is going to go there and say, hey, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And then we shift with the agile mindset of empowerment, self-organizing. And then the project manager become a servant leader, not the command and control type. Did you find differences between, you already mentioned cultures about being more open or closed, more resistance, and of course you don't need to define the region, but did you find differences where the servant leadership is more welcoming, and others that is kind of not sure if I buy that.
Yes, and actually has to do with cultures, hierarchy. There are some countries, in the countries I've lived, I have experienced everything. Very, very high hierarchy cultures and companies, and as well very flat, and you can do whatever you want, and you can go to the office of the CEO and sit there, and it's okay. So I see that it's more difficult to take it, accept it, live it in countries where hierarchy or hierarchical levels are very, very important and respected.
Stronger. Yeah.
Exactly, stronger. Exactly. Because it's like, okay, you're trying to help me or empowering me to make decisions, to try new things. But if it doesn't work, my boss is going to be upset. I'm going to get in trouble. Obviously, for matrix organizations, right? If you're talking about consultancies, it doesn't exist. I mean, not as such, except that the customer is right, and we have to make sure that they get what they want. We deliver that. I was in consulting as well many years, so that's what I see, how it's being taken. Another very important point is, when we talk about servant leadership, we talk about as well psychological safety, right?
Yeah.
To allow people to say, hey, if we don't let them grow, we don't let them make mistakes, they will never grow, because they will never try new things because they're afraid. Let me tell you something. Back in the days when I did my first, let's say, work, it was like an internship. Okay, I was still at university and I was doing my internship. It was a very big insurance company in Buenos Aires, very, very big one, and very modern, and very nice. And they started development. At that time, there was some specific insurance for work or workers that it has to be implemented in the whole country, and they were leading that. So just to give you a little bit of a perspective, the mindset and how it was working. You probably remember as well, Sam, if we have younger audience, maybe you don't remember that, but it was this liquid paper, this
Yes.
writing something, exactly, this with a brush, right? You will put it in there. So normally in companies, you have these like office supplies. They wouldn't have that intentionally, because they believed that if they had that available for people were going to make mistakes because they knew they could correct them.
Oh, wow.
So exactly, it was intentionally saying, no, we don't have it, because then you will believe that you can make mistakes. So again, many years ago, but still, that for me, that was a very clear example, the liquid paper example, when companies believe they are really modern and they are driving change and innovation, but in that regards it was not. Of course, at that time probably as well it was not so apparent how important that is, but for me that's something that really shows what exactly is not the right thing to do.
Yeah, and you mentioned here, if the only way not to make mistakes is don't try anything new, right?
Exactly.
But that kills innovation. Then your company is gone because nobody tries anything. And we a lot of human inventions were mistakes. If you go to Post-it, right? The Post-it was actually a mistake. It was supposed to be a super glue. And it became one of the number one items from 3M. So yes, I'm with you with that, and how servant leadership can help people with the psychological safety, right? To get into that. So let's move a little bit now to another element that you seem very passionate about, which is empathy, right? So empathy is something that people talk about, but not usually put in practice. I know that little video from Renee Brown about
Yes.
empathy, which is fantastic. It's a very short video, right? But it gives the right message. That was a little bit why empathy makes difference in the success or failure of your team or your project. Tell us more, because that's a fascinating topic.
Yes, and actually, personally, I'm a very emotional person, obviously because of my background, but as well, I feel and I connect with feelings, right? And as well, if we are talking and suddenly you look upset or angry, I will really step back, right? I will say, okay, what's happening? What did I do, right? What happened? What did I say that probably you didn't like, right? That's something that comes natural, right, for me. But it's as well a little bit linked to what we talked about before. It's empathy is understanding people even if they are different, they behave differently, they do not feel the same way we do, they feel more or less, they're more energetic or not, or and understand that as well. And sometimes it's difficult because it's a human reaction of human nature, I think. We try to connect with people that are a little bit like us, right? And of course, that's something to develop that. It's something we cannot just learn. And of course, we cannot ask AI to teach us that or to tell us that, because so far, hopefully, that's the thing that it's for us, right? That we will keep for ourselves, hopefully, in that way. But how do we show that? And sometimes empathy, and you mentioned that video, and I was thinking about that as well when we decided to talk about this, empathy and sympathy, and the line is very
Exactly.
thin.
What is the difference? Because we have some viewers here
Yeah.
who understand the words empathy, but do not understand what's the difference between sympathy and empathy, because they are not the same. How can you explain that in a few words?
Yes, empathy, or let's go to sympathy first. Oh, I'm really sorry you're going through that. Oh, that's really bad. Oh, I hope it never happens to me. Okay? And you feel people are really feeling sorry for you,
Hmm.
but they might not understand what you're going through. Okay, they just hear and say, "Yeah, oh, I'm sorry," but then they can go on with their lives. They stop talking to you, they turn, and they can go on with their lives. And life, everything is as if nothing happens, and you're stuck there and say, "But they don't understand me. They come to me, they talk to me, they ask me, but they don't really care. Not
Hmm.
intentionally, but it feels like, yeah, okay, well, bad luck. Then maybe we'll get better, right?" And there are a few phrases that we sometimes say quickly, and actually it doesn't help. When we talk about empathy, it's what's going on with you, what's happening, and then you tell me what you're going through, and I might tell you, I have never experienced that, but I understand that you're not feeling well about it, you're not feeling good about it, and how can I support you, help you? Sometimes it's like, but can I do something for you, or do you want me to stay with you, or do you want me to help you with this situation, do you want me to be with you and talk to that person, maybe to clarify something? So being with the person, probably understanding, even if we didn't experience that ourselves, but we understand
To
that
be
it's
there,
not
to be
good.
there. Hmm.
Exactly. Be there and said, I don't feel sorry. I feel with you.
Hmm.
And that's the difference. And again, like I said, explaining or what is really the difference, because the line is very, very thin. And sometimes there are some personalities, maybe culture or not, but personalities that might be okay with that. But some other ones, I said, okay, no one understands me. Then I will close myself. I will not show emotions, and I will not show how I feel as long as I am at work. And then eventually at home, or I turn off the camera. Okay, and that's it. So what happens is that we do not really see the real self of people. We do not really see what they're going through. As long as they are delivering, we think, yeah, well, it's okay. But that's really a difficult thing, because even it's not lasting. It cannot last. And Leon, I want to comment on something about this sympathy and empathy, and sometimes feeling that we are alone. People talk to us and they ask us how we are doing. Very few uh, let's say, connections or people that you would tell them, really, I'm not doing so well. I mean, our answer normally is, yeah, it's okay, I'm fine.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It's just a polite way to ask how you doing, but I don't care. And right?
Exactly. Yeah, truly, that even if I tell you, not you, Leo, but even if I were going to share with you, I know you wouldn't understand or you don't care. You would say, yeah, okay. In Spanish, probably another language, they say the same, but normally they say, hey, how are you doing? I'm doing fine, or should I tell you? So,
Exactly.
fine, or should I tell you? So it's like giving a hint. Yeah, well, we all have things going on, right? We cannot really talk to everyone and tell everyone how we're feeling, what we're not doing so well. But what I see that the danger now, because it's dangerous, is that we have as well remote work, which is fantastic. But when you miss this contact with the people, and
Human connection. Yeah.
exactly, even if they turn on the camera on Teams, even if they
Mhm.
do that, we can all pretend, right? And then we don't know. And like the snowball, then it's bigger, bigger, bigger. Like what we normally teach as well with conflict. I say, well, you want to address it when it's small, but we don't see that.
Do
So
you?
difficult.
Yeah. Do you have any example, maybe in all your experience in different projects, and where empathy or the lack of empathy
Mm.
was one of the key reasons for success or failure? Uh, you don't need to name companies or anything like that or details about the project, but do you have any type of example that illustrates how empathy was crucial for the success or the lack of empathy drove the project to failure?
Yes, and exactly. We're not going to name anything because anyway, I worked in different places, so difficult to pinpoint. No, but I was, my manager was, for me, the problem. And that's what I learned, that empathy is not about being, you know, extroverted or introverted or talking, right? Or sharing a meal. It's not about that. It's about something else. And I was really, I couldn't pinpoint exactly what was the problem, but it was this human connection, okay? There was no empathy. Like I said, sometimes at that point it was not like, okay, I could put a word to it, but then I understood because I said, what can it be? Because normally I am quite open, I am extroverted, and I fit in different contexts. So, I adjust. So it's not really something that I couldn't, but I couldn't. It couldn't. And I was really, really so close to leave everything. It was
Wow.
really, I was really loving what I was doing, but I couldn't. This Sunday evening when you think, oh no, this feeling, it was horrible. And I couldn't really, it was not aggressiveness, nothing to do with that. Huh? This connection was not there. And very, very strong, very strong. So, again, sometimes it's not intentional from the other side to not to be empathic. It's not that people do that with intention, and that's worse because someone doing it with intention, they can do it right. They can have empathy or not because they decide not to. What I my that experience for me, it was not deciding. This person was not deciding to be like that. It was like that. And that's worse because if we want to change something, we want to know, right? Okay, that's not working. Maybe I need to change that. But if you don't know, it doesn't work. And giving feedback was difficult as well. But from my side as well, okay, feeling safe enough to give this feedback. And of course, in that moment, I was doubting if it was myself as well, that I was leading that uncomfortable situation, if you want. But only from that point of view. The rest was okay. It was from outside, it was okay. So that for me was something that really, really didn't work. Now, if we go on the other something that works, I worked many, many years, pretty much throughout my professional career, always in multicultural teams, different countries, different cultures, a lot, and that was really nice. That's why I loved what I was doing, and that's what the experience as well is coming from. And it works only with empathy, even
Mm.
if some don't have so much or so little, but it doesn't work, and you can tell when there is no that, then there is no empathy, then it doesn't really work. Luckily, when you're working in projects and the projects were not so long, so you change anyway.
Mhm.
If something's not working that well, but really, it's I've seen that working without much effort, and yes, it had. I in my throughout my experience, so getting empathy from project manager or other way around, having people then helping them develop. I have learned when it worked and you feel really comfortable and you feel that you can share things, not everything, but you feel safe, right? And
Mm.
interestingly enough, it was in this multicultural environment that was really working well.
Very interesting. Would you say that empathy is when you show genuine interest on people?
Yes.
Is one of the elements of because when you mention the comparison with sympathy, and people ask, "Hey, how you doing?" But they're just asking because they want to be polite, but they really don't want to know. It seems to me that empathy is when you really have a genuine interest in the person and you want to listen and you want to put yourself on the person's shoes, try to understand where they're coming from, right?
Yes, genuine. That's the right word. That's what really makes a difference, and we can tell. I mean, in general. I mean, either we can tell right away because we see the facial expression, or some people have this sixth sense, or they feel it. Say, well, I cannot really pinpoint what happened, but I felt they were really interested and genuinely, like you said. This word is as well part. I would say that will define it really nicely.
Yeah. So looking to organization nowadays, and I think we still have a lot of organizations where they focus a lot on processes, tools, and you know that triad: people, process, and tools. And sometimes they start with tools, then they adjust the process to the tools, and then people have to adjust to that process, which is exactly the opposite, right? What we have to do. With companies like that, how can we bring a more human centered type of leadership, like the servant leadership that you mentioned, into project management? How do we start with a company that is so focused on process and tools?
That's I was thinking. I was recently with a company, and as well they had a situation and they wanted help how to solve that. It was a process. Like I said, it was a process. I said we need to improve this and we need to do this and that. And I started suggesting, first, let's understand who's involved, stakeholders, and then let's talk to them. Let's talk to the people that are going to use this tool or follow. It was a tool and process, and decide together, right? A bit the agile mindset, but not. I mean, not everyone is implementing it like that. Some people are not using it because they have different type of projects or work.
Mhm.
It was all around people, right? And started with people, ended up with people. In the middle was, okay, we can improve this and this, but in the workshop we discuss what are improvements, as well, business process engineering, which activities are duplicate or not. So talking about that, and then when I finished with this somehow presentation or just saying, okay, this is what I will do. Um, some were really, what, this is good. And one asked, yeah, that you talked a lot about people, but what about the process? And I said, this line here where we are mapping this is, and then the future, this is where we improve the process. But if you don't get the people committed and the people who
Yes.
are going to use the process, we don't give them the chance to say something when we're trying to improve something, right? That they're going to be using, then the best ones just decide how or what should it look like, we then can discuss. But it's the people. It was interesting, the comment. talk a lot about people, but what about we need to improve the process? But that's okay. I mean, still, it's human nature. We want to improve the process. Let's talk about the process. What about why people? Let's focus on the process. And people is pretty much everything. But you're right. We cannot just spend all the time talking to people and having coffees and making sure everyone is doing well, because otherwise it doesn't work. So that's for sure. And even if we trust the people and empower them, it doesn't mean that process will work or the tools are going to help us, right? But for me, it's like the sandwich. You start with people, finish with people, or close it with people, and then in the middle, okay, we focus on the technical part.
That's a nice way to show. Yeah, people start with people and end with people. Very good. In talking about people, we on your career, you have been involved on developing people, and for our younger generations, the people watching us now, why would you recommend them to learn project management early in their career? And if so, why? Why would you think that project management is a good skill for younger generations?
I will definitely recommend it, and let me tell you why in a slightly different way. Um, I have teenage kids, and one of them it's in it's 2 years to go to finish high school. Okay,
Mhm.
and I'm very involved with the school, and I proposed to school. I said, would you consider having maybe a project management seminar workshop?
Wow.
And they said, well, that could be a nice idea. Okay, let's give it a try. So they asked this class, I mean, let's say in 2 years they are done. They asked them if they were interested. And they said, yes, of course we are interested. Leo, and you teach project management as well, right? So we are with professionals and not necessarily adults or less adult. What we mean is people that have experience. And I said, let's give it a try. It was one of the last days the year was going to end, the academic year, and they had other things to do, but they chose to take this. They have
Wow.
the last project week and free things and this and that, and they could do whatever they wanted. They chose to be there. And first, when I was asking, the same questions we ask in our classes, the answers, I was amazed how much they know, how interested they were, the right answers they gave. And the project we used was organizing the ball, the end of the year ball. They just
Oh
were
yeah, the
graduating, graduation ball,
graduation.
exactly. There were
Yeah.
few that had volunteered to do that, right? And feedback was really positive. They were really happy, when we posted and creating as well. WBS and stakeholder analysis, everything, risk. They were really, really into it. The feedback was we have to do it sooner. So they are like 18, okay? 17, 18. They said we have to do it a year before that, because otherwise we don't have time. We missed a lot of opportunities already. So this year we started earlier. And they were saying, wow, now we know what we have to do. We thought we will never ever finish this project. We will never get to have a ball, and then we know how to do it. Feedback again, positive feedback, really excited. Feedback again, much sooner. So now we are contemplating,
Wow.
and even they are asking me, we talk about having a full seminar, a full year where they can choose to participate in different ones. Project management will be one of them. Now, what is a little bit back to your question, but that's why I wanted to explain why I believe this is important. They know a lot. Their future, it's projects.
Yes.
Mostly everything, regardless what they do, they're going to have projects. And why not to learn when they are really excited about it, when they can plan something they like and they see the results? And they are, really, we believe sometimes older generations, and we look at the much younger generations with the influence of AI and the digital natives and screens. We believe, well, they maybe not interested in many things, but they are. They have a lot of capabilities. They have a lot of knowledge because they are so global now. They operate in phones and they have friends everywhere. So they have different languages, cultures constantly. They organize things. And they have a much more difficult job than we did because the world is at your phone. I mean, and
Yeah.
24/7. So that's why I believe they need a little bit the structure just to understand how it works. And we are creating this new generation of project managers or professionals or this future that will be driven by projects. PMI had this survey that is that by 2030, many millions of project management managers are going to be needed. So with the title, let's say, right? Professional project managers. And if we teach them early enough, already this mindset will be there.
That is a nice example, and you're doing that, and it's working.
Yes.
Do you think that can expand to other regions, other schools, or because we have to start somewhere? You did. So, what do you think are the key skills that those kids are getting from project management? Because I have an experience that is not similar as yours, but when I have a chance, I teach at a local university here, and I get undergrad students. So people who came from finished high school and started their career, and it's amazing how they can connect the dots and how they can see the benefits of that, right? But you're starting even younger, which is an amazing initiative. What do you think are the key skills that they are getting that's going to help them when they enter a university or the market?
And that was interesting because they have a lot of information. They get a lot of information constantly. And what I felt the feedback as well, what I saw that they said, well, this really worked. They visualized what they need to do. They understood that stakeholder management is very, very important. Who do you need to talk to, how and when? So communication, although they communicate a lot, with all apps, and they're always with the phone talking, not just watching video, they're communicating. And so they do a lot of that, but they understood as well, step out, try to visualize what you have and who do you need to communicate with. So stakeholder management, and we talk about risks as well. And it's
Risk.
really interesting as well. How do they see it? What is it? And they get it quite quickly. They understood it quite quickly. What is a risk? And yes, then I could do this and this. So I believe this, for me, for project management, risk management and stakeholder management really makes it or break it. And it's up to all of us to decide how much or how do we do it. Because the project plan, the activities, you have them there. But then this one, it's experience and what does it make sense to do. And this is what I see, this communication, or not limit, that's not the right word, but understand what and how and with whom to make it effective, and visualize what they need to deliver.
Communication, stakeholders, and risks.
Yes.
Very nice. Very nice. So let's talk. Of course, we have to talk about artificial intelligence. There is not a single conversation I have on this podcast that I don't ask our guests to share a little bit about AI. You talk about empathy, you talk about servant leadership, about some basic people skills for project managers. How you see AI impacting
Can I?
those elements?
I would like to share something. I have it's not a quote, it's a phrase that I found that I was using it for one class or one webinar I was doing. So I read it to you and then we talk about that. If you're doing work a machine can do, you're stealing time from the work only you can do.
Ah, look at that. Yeah.
So it's a phrase, not a quote really. I think it was, but anyway, what is the thing? What do we do with AI? Like you said, I mean, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. I mean, AI is there, is here to stay, and how do we use it? And more I see that it was we are all somehow overwhelmed, we need to use it. Everyone is using it and it's helping people. We hear that it's helping everyone. And then we try to use it and then we put the prompt and it doesn't work. Or we try to, hey, can you summarize this? Or can you give me info from this meeting? And sometimes it's too much, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So for me is, let's step out. AI is a tool. It's a very powerful tool. And let's make sure that AI is doing what the machine, if we can call it like that, should do. The things can help us, and we can focus on the things that we should focus.
Yeah.
Exactly. Each of us, we add value in different ways. And we talked about empathy. We talk about servant leadership. I'm not saying that AI is not doing that, because we are hearing more and more often that people have a rapport with AI and they talk and AI responds, and in ways that, of course, because they simulate humans in a way, right? And they learn from us. But still, let's make sure that the machine AI does their work, what they are very good at, and they go 10 or 20 or 50 times faster than us to summarize something or to gather information or to classify. But then let's decide ourselves, where do we add value? It's not easy, obviously. And sometimes we are really tempted to just delegate as much, and we are delegating things we should be doing. Let me tell you, let me give you one number. There was a survey in US, a big survey, a lot of people and workers, and how many people use AI and how many people use AI at work. One thing is that half of the people at work use AI, but they don't share. They don't say they use it. So might not work, mistakes, but no one knows. The other one was that 2/3 of people, when they get responses or replies from AI, they do not check them.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, I'm with you, and I actually wrote about that in articles, and there is a concern, right, when we don't use critical thinking to validate the output of AI. And instead of improving cognitive skills, it might go the other direction, right?
Exactly. And you're, of course, you're very, very involved, Leon, in AI and anything around AI. And that's a little bit, if we talk about developing people, empowering people, and like you said, the cognitive skills, developing the cognitive skills, we're not helping with that. And the more we delegate and we don't read, we don't check, the more we say, hey, it's okay, it should be fine. It's AI. So that's not going to help us at all. And I believe it's a mindset as well. But this is personal impression. It was a hype, and it's still a hype. But now it's a little bit, okay, now people say, yeah, but I don't use it for everything. And just some as well situation or just real discussion I have with my son, 14-year-old, and he was studying for math. He had an exam, and there was something he didn't understand, right? And he said, okay, I will ask AI to explain me how to solve this. He with intentions that do not give me the answer or do not give me the result. Just explain to me, how can I solve this? Okay. And again, normal teenagers that they use it for everything. But I thought, okay, that's something we should do as well. It's just try to get it to help us do the work that we shouldn't be doing, and we stay where we are, where we add value. Empathy, servant leadership, with all the information we need probably for that. But it will not replace talking to you and say, hey, Leon, how are you feeling today?
Yes.
Yes. AI, how is Leon doing today? They might know, because now they know a lot, but...
Yeah, and one of the things that I found, I'm running a webinar about AI augmented project management. So it's not about replacement, it's about augmentation. But we have to do our job, which is the critical thinking, using our capability to make decisions and to think about that. So yeah, very, very valid point. Thank you for sharing that. Before I let you go, I have a couple, one question, and I want your final comments here. what is one or two books that you would like to recommend to our viewers? Something that was significant for you in your career, could be technical or not technical. Books that you would like to recommend to our viewers here.
Well, I will mention three actually. The Art of War, Millenary. I still believe is super valid. I mean, I'm still amazed and super small. Um, we talked about culture, and there is this the culture map by Erin Meyer. Probably you are familiar with that book or that analysis, right? That they mapped many different countries and cultures across. I think there were 10 different areas like hierarchy, feedback. How do they deal with conflict? Are they extroverted, introverted? And they have like the line, okay, extroverted, introverted, and where the countries are. And we have that sometimes with stakeholder management, and sometimes it's surprising countries because we belong to some of those countries. When you have multicultural groups that say, yeah, but that's my country, but I don't know, but actually, maybe you're right. And I think it's a really interesting mapping how cultures behave and why. It's more from exactly the business point of view. But I believe now we became more global. So sometimes the big differences between cultures it's getting a little bit smaller. We are adjusting to this universal type, especially younger generations, because they are involved and they know things from many different countries and cultures that they see very, very quickly on the racks, right? So I think we are doing this a little bit. Still, there are some characterizations. I believe it might not be right because it makes us as well special, but that is something I like, that the culture map, when you see the results. And the third one is the one you have behind you, Nexus.
Oh, Nexus is
That
fantastic.
it's a scare. I mean, I am very respectful from what I mean, I really said I have to put myself in a
Did you have a
of
nightmares after
mind.
reading this?
I'm because I was pushing it, because I know reading that it brings a lot of a very hard reality. Okay, I read the other
Mhm.
one, obviously the evolution, the story of species, or the human was, well, the first one.
Homo sapiens.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. And when we started with your video and I saw that, I said, well, that summarizes pretty much everything, and it's very interesting. It's hard, I believe. It's a big
Yes.
hard
Yeah.
truth, but it can help us. Okay, maybe we don't need to go that far.
So we're approaching the end here. I'll let you go, and let's schedule some time to talk again, because it's such a nice conversation. What is your final message to our viewers? So people who watch our podcast could be young professionals, some people already well-established project program portfolio managers. What will be your message to them? Your final message?
Find out what makes you you, a special you. Protect that. Don't let it be diluted with AI. Use AI, ask for help, uh, delegate routine activities, but really find what makes the difference when you enter the room, when you work in a project, when you lead a team. And that's something we need to protect, because if each of us we do this, we are still going to remain human, and we're going to add value, because this is what really makes us different from the others. So
Thank you. Jorgelina, thank you so much. Always a pleasure to talk to you, and I see you next time.
thank you very much, Leon. Really,
Thank
really
you.
nice talking to you.
Same here.